amidst a deafening world, echoing with billions of sounds every single day. Have you ever found yourself suddenly standing still in the middle of a bustling crowd, feeling a bone-chilling emptiness seeping into the very depths of your veins? It is a bitter paradox of our modern existence, unfolding right here, right within our very breath. We possess countless ways to connect, an infinite web of invisible threads crossing through glowing screens. Yet we carry within us a heart that desperately, painfully yearns to be understood. Have you ever laughed radiantly in a room full of people, only to find that when the door closes and darkness descends, you are nothing but a solitary island stranded in a vast, indifferent ocean of humanity?
The truth is, we are living in an era of phantom connections. A tap on a flat, cold glass screen can never replace the soul-nourishing warmth of a physical embrace. The hollow praises scattered across massive digital networks cannot fill the echoing void at the bottom of our consciousness. We have grown accustomed to stuffing our ears with loud music, with endless and trivial conversations, with the frantic rush of news flashing before our eyes every passing second. We are terrified of silence. We are horrified by the prospect of being alone. Because when all the external noise fades away, that is when we are forced to confront the most terrifying, the most distinct, yet the most brutally honest sound of all. The voice emanating from the deepest abyss of our own soul.
The fear of loneliness has taken root in the human subconscious since the dawn of time. This illusory realm has conditioned us into beings haunted by the fear of being left behind, the fear of being unneeded, the fear of becoming invisible. Driven by this unseen terror, we frantically cling to fragile relationships. We sometimes lower our own dignity, twisting ourselves into foreign molds, wearing layer after layer of heavy masks, all to exchange for a mere nod of validation from the world. We run away from sitting down and facing our own shadow, avoiding the dark corners filled with unhealed wounds that we have intentionally buried for so long.
But, O weary traveler, exhausted from endlessly seeking wholeness from the outside world, O bruised hearts, burdened by clinging to the fleeting desires of this earthly realm, what if I told you that the dark, bottomless abyss of loneliness you are so terrified of is actually a secret gateway, the most glorious, majestic gate to spiritual awakening? The miraculous truth of the universe never teaches us to run away from pain. The profound philosophy of mindfulness does not advise us to use temporary desires or busyness to cover up our emptiness. On the contrary, that very stillness illuminates the path for us to walk straight through the pain with pride, freedom, and absolute grace.
Today, within this tranquil sanctuary of our shared space, we will embark on a journey against the currents of ordinary human perception, a transformative journey that may shatter the outdated walls of belief that have imprisoned your soul for so long. We will peel back the layers of a paradoxical yet blindingly brilliant truth. The agony of absolute loneliness is by no means a sentence of exile. It is the greatest launching pad for your soul to ascend into new dimensions of freedom. When you no longer panic, thrashing about for a lifeline in the rushing currents of isolation, when you dare to sit down and peacefully embrace the darkest parts of yourself, that is exactly when a colossal inner strength, a true superpower will be awakened. This concept in the journey of healing is the courage to do the deep shadow work. It is the moment we stop using the artificial light of the crowd to hide the dark night, and instead we turn ourselves into a torch, quietly illuminating the dampest, most painful, and most desolate corners of our hearts. The Buddha once reminded us of the path of becoming our own island, lighting our own torch to find the way. That torch cannot be borrowed from another. That light cannot be stolen from the masses. It must be kindled from the absolute stillness of a soul that has dared to walk through the storm of isolation, tasting its bitterness fully to dissolve all attachments. Endure the ultimate loneliness, and your reality will turn the page. You will transform your fragile vulnerability into an invincible, unshakable fortress.
Take a moment to reflect and allow yourself to completely relax in this very second. Release the tension in your shoulders, which have been carrying far too many expectations of the world. Take a deep, slow breath, feeling the life force of peace filling your lungs, and exhale all the sorrows clinging to your mind. Right now, through this whispering voice, we are connecting not through physical forms, but through the beautiful resonance of souls on their way back to the source of mindfulness. Your weariness has been witnessed. Your silent struggles are being soothed. The veil of a grand new reality is slowly parting, shimmering with the light of profound clarity, waiting only for your consciousness to step across the boundary of fear and embrace its rightful freedom.
This grand new reality reveals itself at the end of the dark tunnel. Now, as we courageously step over the threshold of fear, let the gentle light of the Dharma illuminate the deepest, most hidden crevices of our hearts. The Buddha taught that the root of all suffering in this world stems from ignorance and attachment. The loneliness we so deeply fear, the emptiness that keeps us tossing and turning in endless nights, is actually just an illusion born from our mind's habitual clinging. We mistakenly believe that we are flawed, incomplete entities, needing someone, some community, or some external echo to validate our very existence.
This attachment is like a lovesick traveler trying to scoop up the shimmering reflection of the moon from the surface of an autumn lake. No matter how magnificent and beautiful the moon in the water appears, it is merely a phantom created by the rippling surface. The moment we reach down to grasp it, the water stirs, the illusion shatters instantly, leaving our hands with nothing but freezing drops of water and a heart plummeting into disappointment. Relationships built on the desperate need to fill the void of the soul are just as fragile as that watery moon. They are bound by the harsh, inevitable law of impermanence. All conditioned things are like a dream, a bubble, a shadow. Where there is a gathering, there must be a parting. When we hand the keys to our life's peace to someone else, we unknowingly turn ourselves into pitiful slaves to our emotions, forever spinning in the ocean of suffering.
So, how do we escape this tragic, endless cycle of patching up and clinging? The miraculous key lies in noble solitude, a supreme art of living, a priceless gem in the treasure trove of Buddhist philosophy. Noble solitude does not carry the negative meaning of running away to deep mountains and thick forests, cutting off all worldly ties,
or isolating oneself from humanity. True solitude is the ability to keep one's mind unmoved, still and crystal clear amidst the chaotic, ever-changing world. It is when our physical body is amidst a noisy crowd, still working, still contributing, yet our mind remains a pristine, untouched island, where no winds of gossip can blow it away, and no words of judgment can stain its purity.
Close your eyes and imagine an incense burner quietly radiating its fragrance in the center of a silent meditation hall. The wisp of incense smoke is as fragile and light as a thread of silk, yet it proudly stretches itself perfectly straight, soaring up to the highest heavens. Why does such a delicate wisp of smoke possess such extraordinary determination? It is because the space around it has reached a state of absolute stillness, without a single whispering wind of the worldly realm to disturb it. Our souls are structured exactly like that wisp of agarwood smoke. When you dare to cut off the disturbing winds of external circumstances, dare to let go of meaningless connections, dare to lock yourself in solitary stillness, that is the moment your soul is purified. The gravitational pull of the world loses its effect, and your consciousness begins to ascend, soaring straight into higher dimensions of wisdom and deep empathy.
In that space of utter silence, when we endure the profound depths of loneliness, we are actually performing a courageous act of karmic purification. The stagnant traumas from childhood, the toxic voices of self-judgment, the sorrowful memories repeating like a broken tape. These are the residues of karma we have heavily carried along. When we keep ourselves busy, smiling and talking, we are merely masking them and suppressing them into the basement of our subconscious. But when we sit still in solitary isolation, all those wounds rise to the surface. The pain materializes more clearly than ever before. Loneliness at this point acts as a cosmic purifying fire. Initially, that fire burns, making you writhe in agony and suffocation. But if you maintain mindfulness, if you do not run away, if you simply sit and observe, embracing that fire with absolute compassion, the flames of purification will burn away all illusions and karmic debris, returning to you your pristine, original essence.
This process of directly confronting the darkest, most unpolished parts of oneself is what Western psychology calls shadow work. Through the meditative lens of the Dharma, it is the profound understanding of the law of the lotus blooming from the mud. The eternal law of the universe has decreed, without the foul-smelling dark mud, there will never, ever be a pure lotus flower able to bloom and radiate its heavenly scent. The loneliness that pierces your heart, the ultimate feeling of being stranded, and the tears rolling down your cheeks in the dead of night that you are experiencing right now, they are, in truth, the most fertile, nutrient-rich dark mud that the universe has specially gifted to you.
Therefore, do not resent that puddle of muddy sorrow. Do not panic and try to wash it away with frivolous, fleeting pleasures. Send your roots deep into it. Let the stillness absorb every miraculous nutrient from the very bottom of your pain. Enduring loneliness in Buddhist philosophy is not about gritting your teeth in helpless resignation. It is about absolute acceptance in a state of awakening. When that acceptance reaches the threshold of completion, when the final wall of resistance crumbles, your reality will instantly turn the page. A flood of light from the ultimate emptiness will surge through your veins. You will suddenly realize you lack absolutely nothing. For since the beginningless beginning, you have inherently been a perfect, whole, and complete universe within yourself.
In that very moment of sudden enlightenment, you transform the fears of yesterday into an immortal superpower. A massive internal strength surges from the deepest abyss of stillness. That superpower is called absolute freedom. When you no longer need anyone to be by your side to feel valuable, when you no longer crave applause or praise to feel alive, you have personally taken the sword of wisdom and severed all the invisible strings of manipulation in this earthly realm. Your aura will change astoundingly. The magnetic energy field around you will become so pure, calm, and silent that it commands profound respect, for it contains the power to move mountains and fill oceans. You have transformed from a fragile reed bending to the wind into a majestic, towering mountain, unbothered even if the storms of prejudice and worldly changes howl endlessly around you.
In the ancient archives, hidden among the majestic snowy peaks, there is a hauntingly beautiful legend still whispered among Zen masters across centuries. It tells the story of a young monk who entered the monastery carrying a heart riddled with the holes of deep insecurity. Like so many of us struggling in this modern age, the young monk harbored an invisible, paralyzing terror of silence. He desperately craved his master's approval, thirsted for the praises of his fellow disciples, and constantly sought to fill his time with crowded chanting sessions or ceaseless temple chores. Just one moment of having to return to his meditation chamber, facing the four cold walls and desolate space, made his heart feel as though it were being pierced by thousands of needles of emptiness.
Seeing through the heavy boulder of ignorance crushing his disciple's soul, the old master smiled with deep compassion. He knew that if the young monk did not shatter this shell of attachment himself, he would forever remain a beggar, pleading for every scrap of affection and attention from the world, no matter how many lifetimes he wore the monk's robes. One late autumn day, as the last maple leaves fell from the branches, the old master called him over and bestowed upon him the most brutal challenge. He had to climb to the highest peak of the Vor Duen mountain, enter the Echo Cave, and enter absolute solitary retreat for the entire 3 months of winter. No one was allowed to visit. Not a single human sound was permitted to enter. There would only be him, the darkness, and the bone-chilling cold of complete isolation.
The day the stone door of the Echo Cave closed with a heavy, hollow thud, the young monk felt as if his eardrums were torn apart, not by noise, but by a silence so thick and heavy it felt like lead. The first few days passed like a torturous sentence to his mind. There was no one to talk to, no one to judge him, and no one for whom he had to play the perfect role of a diligent monk. The illusory curtain of the external world was stripped away, leaving only a fragile, trembling self. In that eerily silent space, his mind began to rebel. It screamed. It projected onto the stone walls the phantoms of regret, the traumatic memories of his childhood, the deepest, darkest fears he had frantically tried to bury.
He fell into a state of absolute panic. In the profound darkness, he hallucinated the mocking laughter of the world, the whispering criticisms of his peers, and even the choking sobs of his own voice,
from some distant past life. The more he tried to run, the more violently these illusory sounds echoed back, crashing against the cave walls, drilling into his mind. He screamed in despair, begging the Buddhas to save his drowning soul. He pounded his bare, bleeding hands against the jagged rock, desperately craving a human sound, a warm touch to tether him back to reality. But the only answer to his heart-wrenching cries was the cold, indifferent silence of the limestone walls and the tragic echo of his own internal agony. The universe seemed to have completely turned its back, leaving this small being to live or die in the black hole of loneliness.
And then, when all his strength was utterly depleted, when the last proud cloak of his ego was torn to shreds, the young monk collapsed onto the freezing dirt floor. He had no strength left to cry, no strength to scream or harbor resentment. In that moment of ultimate exhaustion, as the fog of despair covered every exit, he suddenly remembered the final words his master had spoken before the cave door sealed shut. When you can no longer run, surrender. Let the darkness swallow you whole. With the faint, ragged breath of a final effort, the young monk slowly sat up straight, crossed his legs into a lotus position, dropped his tense shoulders, and closed his eyes. He stopped fighting. He threw the doors of his consciousness wide open, allowing the fear, the isolation, and the biting cold of loneliness to flood into every cell, every hidden corner of his soul. He sat there, observing his own pain rising like a furious blizzard. He embraced that terrifying, ugly shadow with a strange, profound stillness. Absolute acceptance. Absolute surrender.
A miracle unfolded. The exact moment the wall of resistance completely collapsed, the blizzard in his mind abruptly ceased. The illusions vanished. The screaming echoes died away. In their place was an emptiness, but not the emptiness of lack. It was the pristine, clear emptiness of a bright sky after a raging storm. In that absolute silence, for the first time in his decades of existence, he heard the beating of his own heart, echoing with steady, warm, and vibrant life force. He heard the sound of a tiny drop of water falling from a stalactite into an underground pool, creating a crystal-clear sound, resonating like a bell awakening the soul.
He was stunned to realize he had never been lonely. Within his very breath lay the operation of the entire cosmos. Within that falling drop of water was the vast, boundless ocean. In ultimate stillness, he had become one with the stone walls, with the snowy peaks, with the infinite void. When he no longer demanded anything from the outside to define his existence, the young monk touched his most authentic, immortal self. The fear of loneliness had died, leaving behind a surging inner power, a boundless freedom, silent yet incredibly majestic.
3 harsh months of winter passed. When the stone door of the echo cave was finally rolled open, welcoming the first warm rays of spring sunlight, the old master stood there, smiling gently. The young monk stepped out. His robes were frayed, his body was emaciated, but his eyes blazed with the pure, penetrating light of an awakened being. Without a single word of greeting, without a single tear of self-pity, he simply smiled quietly, pressed his palms together to bow to his master, and bowed to the rocky mountain that had embraced him through the long winter. His aura was now as unshakable as a 1,000-year-old boulder, radiating a bizarrely profound field of peace. His silent presence in that moment
carried a power far greater than tens of thousands of spoken sermons. Truth sometimes does not lie in beautiful, flowery words, but right at the bottom of the abysses of pain we run from every day. The greatest light is always kindled in the darkest corners of our solitude.
The story of the young monk and the echo cave, though faded into the mossy depths of the past, still resonates perfectly intact in every breath of our bustling human lives today. You see, to touch the realm of fearless freedom, to possess the superpower of stillness, we do not necessarily need to shave our heads and ordain, nor do we need to exhaustingly climb to freezing snowy peaks to bury ourselves in a meditation cave. Your echo cave, your mystical meditation chamber, actually exists right inside your small bedroom at 2 in the morning, when the traffic outside has died down and the glowing virtual world on your screen has fallen into a deep slumber.
It is those moments when you lie there, staring blankly into the dark, feeling the pulse of isolation spreading through your veins. It is those days you stand in the middle of a crowded family gathering or a loud, bustling office, yet your heart feels as cold as a stranger's, knowing no one truly understands the deep language of your soul. That suffocating sense of not belonging, that helplessness when the voice of your heart drops into an endless void without a single response. These are the magnificent tests, the golden opportunities that the universe is graciously scattering across your path. Please do not panic. Please do not rush to reject it. Treat this exhausting isolation as your very own sacred ashram, the place where you will perform the miraculous alchemy of your own transformation.
Practicing letting go and facing the inner shadow in real life always begins with the smallest, most subtle things. The next time a wave of self-pity crashes over you, when emptiness tears at your heart, restlessly demanding you rush to find an anchor, rushing to pick up your phone to call someone just to vent, or mindlessly scrolling through social media, begging for shallow interactions, I beg you, stop. Just for a moment. Do not run away the way you have for all these years. Gently put down those tools of escape. Close your tearful eyes and whisper to yourself, I see you, oh my pain. I feel you, oh my loneliness. I am right here. I will not abandon you anymore.
When you dare to stand perfectly still in the eye of the storm, shift your entire attention to your breath. Do not analyze why that person left you. Do not resent why life has been so unfair to you. All those thoughts are merely the sophisticated traps of the ego, designed to pull you away from the present reality. Instead, use your mind to shine a warm, loving light onto your own body. Feel your chest tightening. Feel the sting in the bridge of your nose. Feel your rapid, heavy breathing. Allow yourself to shatter right in that very moment. If the tears want to fall, let them freely water your parched soul. Those tears falling in silence are not a sign of weakness. They are the nectar of compassion, washing away the thick dust of karmic attachment. When you patiently befriend your own isolation for long enough, a miraculous alchemy will quietly take place within your bloodstream. It is like you have formed the habit of drinking bitter medicine drop by drop, only to realize one day that the poison paralyzing your meridians has completely dissipated. You will walk out into the street with a completely new mindset, You will still smile and greet people, still work with all your heart, still love and give freely, but inside you, an invisible, indestructible armor has formed. Words of praise and flattery no longer blind you with arrogance. Criticism, judgment, or even betrayal can no longer bring your sky crashing down ever again.
Do you know why? Because you have walked through the absolute depths of darkness and realized that even if the whole world turns its back, you can still survive, still breathe, and still bloom beautifully right within the silent kingdom of your own heart. The fear of loneliness has completely lost its manipulative power. You have tamed that monster, turning it into a loyal gatekeeper, protecting the absolute peace of your own sanctuary. When a person no longer fears solitude, all negative energies, exploitative relationships, and temporary connections will automatically step back, retreating before the majestic, still magnetic feel of their aura.
Your reality will turn the page in the most spectacular way imaginable. The external world is merely a mirror accurately reflecting your internal world. When your inside is a crystal clear, still autumn lake, it will naturally reflect the image of a bright, vast sky, drawing toward you souls with the same vibrational frequency of peace, sincerity, and depth. You are free to redraw all boundaries, free to choose who is worthy of stepping into your sacred space without carrying even a trace of hesitation, obligation, or fear. That, my friend, is the greatest superpower a human life can possibly achieve. The journey of healing and doing shadow work has never been a path paved with soft roses. It demands supreme courage to shatter comforting illusions, accepting the pain required to break free from a tight, suffocating cocoon. But I believe that once you have listened to these very words, your soul is entirely ready for a glorious, transcendent rise from the mud. Right in this very moment, is there a sorrow making your heart heavy because you feel misunderstood? Is there a hidden corner you are still struggling to hide amidst the chaotic flow of life? Leave a few lines in the comments below as a way to pour out your heart, to shed your burdens, and send your sorrows into the wind. There is always a silent, safe space here, waiting to embrace and hold your story.
The unspoken words you have just silently entrusted to us, whether they are layers of deep-seated pain or the gentle ache of a heart longing to be understood, have been completely embraced by this quiet sanctuary. Spoken words may fly away with the wind, but the heavy boulders in your mind, once bravely named and exposed under the light of awakening, instantly turn into weightless, floating clouds. Now, as the rhythm of this essay gently drifts towards its final echoing notes, allow yourself to lean back, take a very deep breath, and deeply appreciate the journey our souls have just courageously walked together.
We have peeled back the glamorous shell of a noisy era, where people tirelessly use phantom connections to escape the deep pit of emptiness. We have sat down beside the young monk in the great echo cave, tasting the utter terror of cold isolation, only to burst into tears at the glorious moment of sudden enlightenment. We have realized that the fear of loneliness is not a monster to be slain, but the strictest Zen master, bringing us the greatest lesson in the art of letting go. And most importantly, we have learned how to turn that very fragile isolation into a pure ashram, where we manually purify our karmic debris and awaken the immortal inner power within ourselves.
The concept of a shifting reality that I have whispered to you from the very first moments is not some mystical magic falling from a distant heaven.
nor is it you suddenly turning into a different person, or the outside world magically rolling out a carpet of roses beneath your feet. A shifting reality, in the deepest sense of the Dharma, is an earth-shattering shift from within your consciousness. The old pages of your life were written with the ink of dependency, with the tears of expecting others to bring you happiness, with the overlapping fears of facing the dark night. But this new page, the page of awakening, will be written with the majestic, unshakable pen of an emperor ruling the kingdom of their own soul.
On that new page, you will realize a flawlessly beautiful truth. You are never, ever truly alone, because you are an inseparable part of this vast, breathing universe. When your mind is no longer frantically chasing after conditioned illusions, when you can sit quietly, look at a wildflower by the road, and feel the entirety of life surging through your veins, that is when you touch the eternal, beginningless wholeness. The Buddha's words from thousands of years ago in the Mahaparinirvana Sutra still echo into eternity. Be a lamp unto yourself. Be your own refuge. Seek no other refuge. That torch was lit the exact moment you stopped running and dared to embrace the pain of your solitude. That island was forged the moment you allowed yourself to shatter in order to be reborn.
From this moment forward, as you step outside to face the ordinary storms of the human world, I hope you always maintain the majestic aura of a towering mountain. Whoever comes, welcome them with an open heart and a compassionate smile. Whoever leaves, gently let go of their hand and wish them peace on their long journey ahead. The judgment of the world cannot scratch your armor of stillness. The turned backs of humanity cannot shake the firm roots you have planted deep into the heart of Mother Earth. The absolute, terrifying loneliness that was once your fatal weakness has now officially become the superpower guarding your soul across all cycles of existence.
If the frequency of this stillness has touched the deepest, most hidden vibrations in your soul, if you have found a little bit of healing warmth through these whispered words, please leave a footprint here. You can gently tap the like button as a smiling nod of resonance and subscribe to the channel, turning on the little bell as a way of planting a seed of good karma. Your presence and journey with Still Mind Dharma is not just priceless support, it is living proof that, on the path back to the source of mindfulness, we are walking together in a great, deeply loving silence. I pray for you, my resilient traveler. May you walk through all the turbulent ups and downs of the world and still keep an unmoving mind amidst the ever-changing tides of life. May you wake up every morning with a heart as clear as a drop of morning dew, and every night as you fall asleep, may you be embraced by an immeasurable, boundless peace. Goodbye for now, and I will meet you again on the next shores of tranquility.